Our pregnancy with Luna was our first pregnancy. We felt very fortunate. We got pregnant very easily, which is always like a concern. We were both in our late 20s. We had been married for a year. Just like the timing was right. Things were going along as normal. Really looking forward to the 12-week ultrasound because we had told a few family and friends, but had kind of kept things to ourselves. We had referred to the baby as Luna, even though we didn't know the gender, because I had gone on a hike with a friend of mine when I was ovulating. I told her we were trying to get pregnant that month, and she was like, "Ooh, it's a full moon. Like, that means you're definitely gonna get pregnant. Like, the moon is gonna work with you." So going for a 12-week ultrasound, you know, everything in our minds is good. They pull you aside into like the little room afterwards. They advised us that our risk of having a baby with trisomy 21 went from like 1 in 3,000 based on my age to 1 in 42, I think it was, something like that. Mostly based on blood work that I had had done that was really abnormal, and then the ultrasound, there was a few things that were just kind of slightly off that was making our statistics kind of go that way. We did end up getting the Harmony results, and they were positive for trisomy 21. Because of my time working as an RN in the neonatal intensive care unit, my husband and I had conversations about what we might decide to do if we ever received a diagnosis in pregnancy. For us, I really had a hard time thinking about a child being born and like immediately requiring, say, an open heart surgery. The fact that we were so young. I think a huge thing that's not talked about too is like a financial burden potentially of having a child with disabilities. Like my husband was just starting out his career. We were living in a condo. I didn't know how any of that would look. We don't have a ton of support. And I know something I said to myself a lot was like, we are suffering now so that our baby doesn't suffer later. And I truly, truly believe that. But that doesn't mean that I don't still think about him every day. We did eventually learn that he was a boy, and we still called him Luna because it just felt right. But I remember going to this obstetrician, and I was super nervous because he was probably one of the first people that we sort of shared the diagnosis with. And he just said to me, like, no one can know exactly how you feel in this moment. Like, nobody has your history and your experiences and all of these things that you are putting behind this decision. So people might think that they have a right to say what they would do in your situation, but like for them it's hypothetical. So you are making the best decision you can for your family right now, and just remember that if someone gives you a different opinion, like they don't have a right to, because they don't know what it feels like to be you right now. Which obviously I really appreciated. We had our termination at the end of September, and it was so challenging. And I just remember I would wake up mornings at like 4 or 5 in the morning after we had done it in like full panic attacks, because I was like, what if they got it wrong? What if he was fine and we terminated anyways? And it took me a really long time. Like my doctor had to like print out the diagnosis so I could look at it when I was like in those panic attacks. And so me and my husband just kind of like turned inward and just spent a lot of time alone together, which was lovely. And my sister sent me this necklace that I wear today that has a little moonstone in it. It was really hard to know who we could share our whole story with. Yeah, we would say a lot of different things, I guess, a lot of like half truths and things like that. And that was a really hard part of it, was just not really knowing where we belonged. You know, you're like grieving and you don't really know where you fit, because you don't always necessarily feel like you fit in the pregnancy loss community, even though like that's definitely how I felt. But you're like, what if they knew my whole story? Would they still want me to belong there? One thing that I did find really helpful, like after the termination and after we had taken some time, was I did connect with a pregnancy and infant loss counselor. I don't know, she was just so lovely and gentle, and I'll never forget, she just kept saying, it's early days. It's early days, and you're just kind of working through it, and life is changing, but it's still very like a big part of our life. But I really appreciated that resource and that support, and that particular specific counseling was very helpful. One thing that I'm very grateful to Luna for is that going through all of this, I think it's helped me to be like a better friend or family member or whatever that might be, coworker for people experiencing grief. Like I just feel like before I had really no concept. I fortunately hadn't had anything sort of like this happen to me. So I often have friends reach out if they have a friend, maybe someone I don't know who's gone through pregnancy loss, and they don't know what to do or like what gift they can give. And there's a book that I was given that I really love, or you know, someone sent us a Skip the Dishes gift card, which is like always amazing to be sent like money for meals, so you don't have to worry about things like that. And you know, things like saying their name. And I remember people being like, well, I'm worried to bring it up because I don't want to upset you. And in my mind, I was always like, if you're thinking about it, I'm thinking about it. So if something triggers someone that I'm with to think about my loss or my experience, that for sure has triggered me to think about it. And I would rather talk about it than not talk about it. Like, I think it's hard for people who haven't experienced grief to understand that. Like, they genuinely think like, oh, maybe if I bring it up, they're gonna be sad, but it doesn't really work like that. Like, you know, I'm always just like grateful to talk about it, to talk about him. Yeah, I'm grateful for Luna, and I'm very grateful for our 2 little girls. I hope that I can make other people feel like there is a place for them when they're going through this, just because I didn't always feel like there was a place that I belonged. So I'm grateful to the pregnancy loss community for including us.